ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looks like I started a minute too soon.
Oh, it's no bueno.
And I had to wait for Steve.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Moving on to presentations, proclamations, and visitors. We do have a couple visitors tonight. Jane Downing, am I saying that correctly? And Paige Clarkson.
That's exactly right. This is where you want
Yes,
it, right?
please introduce yourself and
Do that. We can just share, just come snuggle. Hello, my name is Paige Clarkson and I have the privilege of serving as the Marion County District Attorney. And with me is Jane Downing, and she will definitely introduce herself, but she will also introduce the individual who is the most beloved of our presentation, and that is Maxwell. And Maxwell will be here. I know everyone just wants to know who he is, so she will absolutely talk about him briefly. But we were asked to come, and we're actually really grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today. We were asked to come and just present a little bit about domestic violence. Last month, October, was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Jane and Maxwell and I kind of made our tour around the county as much as we could, and it was important to us to get out here to Aumsville and chat with you all as well. It's a really important topic, and so we are grateful just to be able to be here together and to present with regard to domestic violence. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the concerns that we have in Marion County, specifically about domestic abuse and domestic violence. Specifically, last year in 2022, the Marion County DA's office, my office, filed over 700 cases of domestic violence throughout our county. That number is pretty stunning. It's a lot of independent and individual incidents of violence and abuse, some of which is extremely significant and life-altering for the folks that are involved. When we talk about domestic violence, as you know, we're not just talking about a relationship between two people. These are families with children. These are extended families, and everyone is affected by that domestic violence. Those numbers, when we talk about over 700 cases in Marion County, what we know for every single one of those 700 plus cases, there are countless others who don't report because they are afraid of what reporting means for them. They are concerned for their economic status, what will happen to their children, what will happen to their house if they report their abuse. There are countless others who feel that they aren't worthy of help and of service and of resources because that's what their abuser tells them. And when you hear that day after day after day, you're likely to believe that you aren't worthy of that. For every single one of those over 700 cases, we know there are likely hundreds more that we just don't hear from, that we just don't see in the criminal justice system. What is amazing to me as a district attorney, as a prosecutor who's worked in this community for over 25 years now, is that we are very fortunate to have someone like Jane Downing and her Center for Hope and Safety that outstretches their arms and reaches out to those other countless folks, the ones that don't have the strength or the belief in themselves, the self-confidence, the means to reach out to public safety and law enforcement for help. They have folks like Jane, and they have the Center for Hope and Safety that they can reach out to and that will wrap their arms around them, will wrap services around them. And we are very lucky in Marion County. And I want you all to know, as leaders in your own community here in Aumsville, how fortunate we are in our community to have something like a district attorney's office and law enforcement that works in the public safety side that also works very closely and hand in hand with these community service organizations who work in the nonprofit world and in the community side. Because what we can't reach and what we can't touch as law enforcement, Jane's folks are there to fill that gap and to pick up that slack. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jane so she can tell you just a little bit about some of the amazing things that she has done, not just in the last year, but in this community. And then you're going to want to see Maxwell some more. And we both know that. We both know that no one really wants to hear from us. So thank you for having us and for being here and just being able to shed a little bit light on what a vast issue this is. And how important it is to us to bring that to your attention as leaders in our community, to continue to bring that to our community's attention. So Jane.
I'm gonna turn Maxwell over to Paige. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight, Mayor and city councilors and members of the community. So I'm Jane Downing. I'm the executive director of the Center for Hope and Safety, and I have been there for 30 years of the 50 years that the Center for Hope and Safety has been there. Some of you may have known it as Mid-Valley Women's Crisis Service. And so we have been providing services to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking for those 50 years. And last year, just to give you some sense, we had over 36,000 contacts to our program, contacts of all kinds, people walking into our downtown office in Salem, coming into our office in Woodburn, calling us on our 24-hour bilingual crisis line, all different ways. And I did run some statistics and found that 268 of those calls were from Aumsville. And we don't ask where people are calling from. So that's just the folks who told us that they were from this area. And so we know that, you know, we are serving your community and all of Marion County and parts of Polk County. And we do that not only with that bilingual hotline, but also with housing. We were one of the Project Turnkey sites that bought a motel, and we have been operating that motel, and we provide over 20,000 nights of shelter just since we opened in December of 2021. So we are serving more people and sheltering them. And one of the things that we do is in the last 4 years, we started a very successful housing program. And I just want to give you some idea. Just in the last year, we had 164 individuals in that housing program, 58 adults and 106 children. And of those 82 adults, 82 individuals, 28 adults and 54 children went on and exited the program, and 96% of them went into permanent housing. That's our goal, is that folks won't go from shelter to shelter, that they'll stay in our shelter until they're ready to go into permanent housing. And our housing team works with them to be able to do that. And we have an additional 82 individuals who are in that housing program right now and are working their way towards going into permanent housing. So that's been a wonderful addition to the crisis services that we have, like support groups and just being able to meet with an advocate and be able to talk to them and get support. And then, as Paige mentioned, we have a wonderful addition. Maxwell is a black lab, for those of you who can't see him. There you go.
I'll ban over.
And Maxwell is an assistance animal, but his entire job is just to be friendly and kind. And so he is there for survivors, and he wears a vest, but his job is to greet people and be friendly, and he loves his job. In fact, I'm just going to read you a little note about Maxwell. But before I do that, I do want to say that Paige mentioned that we're really lucky in Marion County. And I do want to say one of the things we are incredibly lucky about is that we do work so closely together on behalf of survivors. So every day, our staff is encouraging people to contact the Victim Assistance Office through Paige's office to be able to get support through the system. And every day, her office is referring individuals who don't want to go through that process to our program to get help and support. That's very unusual. In most counties around the state, unfortunately, those two programs do not work together. They see themselves as being on the opposite side. And I love here in Marion County, we see ourselves in being the side of victims and survivors only. So it doesn't matter who they are working with. They are victims and survivors, and we want them to get the help and support they need. So we're incredibly lucky. And I'm just going to end with just reading you a little note that I received from an advocate. It says, just wanted to let you know that a family I worked with visited with Maxwell today, and they were over the moon happy. The situation that they came in was intense and involves a child with a mom devastated and in crisis about what happened. I set them up in a meeting room so they didn't have to be a part of the conversation and could enjoy some safe play, snacks, and a reprieve. Maxwell visited with them and he was so wonderful and such a good advocate. They were all smiling and happy and giggling. Children and mom too, gave him big hugs. Mom said it was the first time her daughter had smiled in a while. She said she was worried that her daughter would never smile again. When they came in, they all looked defeated, but after visiting with Maxwell, they were in much, much better space. So thank you to Maxwell for everything he did. He's magical. And P.S. the children said they want to take him home, Maxwell, because they love him. So I just wanted to share something really sweet that happens when we get letters from survivors. It means the world to us. And to find out that, you know, however we're providing services, they make a difference. We're really honored to have that happen and be a part of that. So we are happy to answer any questions that you might have of us.
I don't have any questions, but college was a domestic violence advocate volunteer. It was a wonderful 2 years of my life. And if I had more time,
Yeah.
I would go back and do it. It's a great program.
Oh, well, thank you for doing that. And thank you for sharing our victim advocates in the DA's office. And of course, Jane relies on volunteers as well, but I call our victim advocates the heart of our office. As prosecutors, Councilman Cox knows we maybe aren't always the friendliest or the huggiest, but our advocates are amazing humans with huge hearts. And at the end of the day, it's why we do the work, is to serve victims and to serve survivors. So it's such important work. So anybody who's listening, we'll always take it. I'll always take anyone as a volunteer. Come back when you're ready. We'll take it.
Maybe when I retire.
You're doing it really important work right now.
Important stuff right here. This too is important volunteer work.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Max.
All right, moving on to public comment. Is there any public comments online? None? Okay, none here in person. At our visitors presents. So we move on to number 3, consent agenda. Or motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved unanimously. Moving on to number 4, public hearings. There are no public hearings. Item number 5, old business. There is no old business. Number 6, new business. West Tech Engineering recommendation for award to RL. I'm going to say that last word wrong. Reimer. Ron, you have the.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Ron Harding, City Administrator. So I'm just going to give a quick overall briefing of the next 3 action items, and then I'm going to have our Assistant Public Works Director come up and give the individual staff reports and answer any questions that you might have. It's actually kind of exciting to take the stage or the step that we're taking tonight, which is to actually award the construction phase of our million-gallon reservoir project. As you know, we've been doing this in bits and pieces over the last few years. Last year, we worked on drilling a new well and some water right transfer work. And we've got the design now was awarded, and the design work was being done all last year. And this is really a culmination of several years worth of work. As you know, this has been a goal at least since I arrived in Aumsville. And it's kind of exciting to get it to the point where you start seeing something being constructed and completed and going vertical. It's a good feeling. So I do want to point out just a few things about the project. So originally our total project estimate was a little over $4 million when we started this project a few years ago. Today we're actually at $4.4 million, a little over $4.4 million. And today we've spent $664,000 roughly up to this point on the water rights transfers, the well drilling and all that work that was associated with the design. And now we're actually to the point where we can go vertical. So awarding the construction services, and the components that make up the 1,000,000-gallon reservoir. I do want to just point out that the project did receive about $3.6 million in grants. And so a lot of this money was granted from the state. And again, I've done this before, but I do want to thank our then Senator Deb Patterson and Raquel Moore Green, our representative, for helping securing those funds. And they both worked diligently on getting those funds for us. Most of this money, I believe, was ARPA funds. So still working through some of those ARPA funds. And so we still need to meet all of the construction expenditure and completion deadlines that are associated with those. For our citizens, what does this mean? Well, what it means is we're going to complete a project that's much needed, and it does not equate to an increase in rates. This is money that we either have saved through our water improvement fund, system development charges from developers that paid into that fund, and or those grants. And so when you think about it, one of my directions given when we started this project was, let's try to do this project without raising rates. Well, the rates would have been $30 to $40 a month increased just on the water side to fund a project like this, had we done that. And we've been able to do that and forego all those rate increases, at least on this project. And so I just want to point out, we've done a lot of work to try to get this project completed without additional impact to our ratepayers, which we've been working diligently on both the water and the sewer side to be able to do that. I just want to make sure for the public's benefit that they know that council and staff have worked hard to do that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Matt Etzel, our Public Works Director, and I'll let him move into each of the action items and answer any questions that you guys have.
Good evening, Matt Etzel, Assistant Public Works Director. So the first action item that you guys have is the approval of the RL Reimers bid in the amount of $3,170,250 for the construction of a 1,000,000-gallon reservoir and pump station. And like Ron's talked about, we've spent several months or close to a year designing this project. This project is going to give us 1,000,000 gallons additional water storage, plus the ability to do maintenance on our existing 1,000,000-gallon reservoir that we have in service now. It gives us redundancy in our pumping capabilities. Right now, especially during the summer months, the city relies on a pump station that supplies water to the city. And we currently have 2 operating pumps and a fire pump. If one of those, several times in the summer, that the regular duty pumps will go down and we'll be relying on one pump to supply the city with water. So kind of a scary operational issue that we have, and this will correct that. We will have 2 more additional regular duty pumps and another additional fire pump with this project. So Westec's done the public advertising and bid tabulations and has made a recommendation to award RL Reimers the contract. we recently did a project, the auxiliary power at the booster station. That was done by RL Reimers, and so far they've been great to work with, so there's no issues as far as on the city standpoint, is any conflicts or anything like that.
Are there any questions? Then we just need a motion.
I move to approve RL Reimers Company's bid of $3,170,250 for the water tank and pump station improvements as presented by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank
Moving on.
Yeah, thank you. So the next one is approval of the construction services proposal from West Tech Engineering. They're gonna provide construction services for the 1 million gallon reservoir and pump station project. They're gonna be doing inspections, regular meetings. When we filed for Marion County building permits, it was required that we have a special structural inspection done that's outside of the Marion County inspection scope. And West Tech will provide those services, or they'll have a sub-consultant provide those services. You'll see in the proposal, we bid the project two different ways. One was a epoxy coated steel tank, and the other was a glass fuse bolted steel tank. And the welded tank version was quite a bit more expensive as far as construction services. And so that was part of our reason in choosing the glass fuse bolted steel tank. And you'll see that the price for the construction services is a lot lower, because there won't be as much time with on-site inspections for welding and the coating. The coating for the glass fuse bolted steel tank is done in a factory on site. So they have their own inspectors that inspect that work, and they inspect the construction of it as well. So. Are there any questions for me on the construction services?
Exactly, where is this? Like, it's gonna be elevated?
So the tank's gonna be where the existing million gallon tank
I
is
found that one.
by Republic Services.
Okay.
Yep, and a couple months ago, we purchased some property from a nearby resident so that we had the room to construct an additional tank at that site. It provides a lot of cost savings for the city to do it at that site, because we don't have to have additional piping work done. If we were to construct the tank someplace else, there would be additional cost in connecting another tank to our system. We're working out some logistics as well of possibly eliminating a generator that was designed in the project, because we'll have one power source there and we can rely on just the one generator. So there's a lot of cost savings to doing it at that site.
Any more questions? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the Aumsville water tank and pump station construction services proposal from West Tech with a not to exceed amount of $154,600 as presented by staff.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 6C.
So the next one is approval of the tag task order for the water tank and pump station integration. There was some background work with this. Several months ago, you guys approved a service contract with TAG, similar to the West Tech agreement that we have. A lot of our water system and wastewater system are becoming more automized, and it's important that we have one integrator do this work. So they're familiar with our system. When we call them in the middle of the night, just recently had to do this with our SCADA computer. With the power outage the other night, I went to pull up the program and it said, please contact Rockwell because your system credentials aren't right. And I'm like, our water system is controlled by this computer. What do we do? I called him up at 10 o'clock at night. He answered the phone, said, do this. I did it and it popped back up. So this is part of that. What they'll be doing is providing all the automation, equipment and programming for the project so that, the pumps will come on and run, based on pressure and water usage in the city. It'll also, the tanks will fill automatically based on, the level in the tank. If the level in the tank drops, it'll call for certain wells to come on and fill the tank at different times. And with the two tanks there, we'll have to alternate water usage out of each tank. So they'll alternate each day. So there's automation in that, valves opening and closing and pumps turning on and turning off. So there's a lot of integration work to be done. By doing it this way, we also are saving the city a lot of money. This work would normally be done as part of the construction contract. And it would allow for the contractor to select whoever they wanted to do this integration work. And that contractor could write the logic however they wanted, with no common theme, I guess, throughout the city. And an additional contractor markup from the general contractor that's performing the work. So we're doing our best to try to save as much money as we can on this project, but do it the right way as well. So that's what this contract is for.
Are there any questions? We just need a motion if there's one.
I move to approve the TAG task force for its water tank and pump station integration in the amount of $249,978 as presented by staff.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right.
Moving on to.
Thank you. You did a great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Well,
Moving
that
on.
feels good. That feels good.
It always feels good to spend a lot of money.
And they'll work on it quick. So we'll start to see some progress here pretty soon.
60 resolution 11-23 authorizing the city to distribute funds donated and raised by the Corn Festival.
Yep, and as council knows, we adopted a policy a few years ago when we took over managing our annual Corn Festival that said we were going to redistribute any funds earned to local nonprofits that participated in helping to manage and staff the event. And so this resolution is our annual resolution to do just that. And this year we actually raised a little more revenue from the Corn Festival, about $18,000 in additional revenue. And resolution 1123 just authorizes us to execute contracts with each of those groups. There's 8 groups that would be receiving money anywhere from looks like $750 on up to $5,000. And we do have a formula. Actually, I did write that in the staff report, but I missed it. But we do actually have a formula that we use to be able to allocate these funds, and it's based partially on the amount of participation, meaning the amount of volunteers and volunteer hours that the groups participate in. If they participate in more than one event or other events throughout the year, we basically give them some extra points for that. And then the kind of work that they do, because some of the work is a little bit more hosting, and some of it is physically, backbreaking. And so we try to weight a little bit more to the groups that are doing a lot of the more physical labor. And so those are the 3 criterias. If we have a small group that is participating, we do try to use some discretion and give them a few more dollars just so they feel like it was worth their time. And then we hope that will build up more, that they'll go out and recruit more volunteers for their group. And that's actually worked really well. Our Friday volunteer group, I think the first year we had about 26 volunteers. Last year we had, I think about 70 volunteers and just got all that Friday work done early. So it was actually really, really good to see. So what we're asking is you to approve the resolution that will authorize the mayor to execute each of these agreements. The agreements are drafted by our city attorney, and they're basically acknowledging these are nonprofit groups and that they provide a service to the community with these funds. So happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution 11-23, authorizing the city to distribute funds donated and raised by the Corn Festival event to local community groups providing services within the city of Aumsville service area as presented by staff.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dane? What, we have one abstention? Okay. Are they any opposed? So motion passes with one abstention.
Excellent. Did you want to move on to the mayor, the CA report?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'll just touch on some of these things lightly, even though that there's a written report in your packet. I just for just the public's information, DEQ did approve our 20% design for our new wastewater facility. And what that means is we can go ahead and now move into 100% design phase. And so I'm guessing that fairly shortly, we're going to be bringing a contract forward for the 100% design services. And it was actually, I think, fairly quick, and they had no comments. So they thought the design was going to work very well. Some of the council was able to go out on the physical tour last Saturday. Is it Saturday? I can't remember.
Wednesday.
My days.
Wednesday.
It was Wednesday.
Yeah. If you did not get to go and you would like to take a tour of the facility, just connect with me and we'll set up a day to take you down there. It's not that far. The staff has been great about taking folks out to help with the tour. But it was very informative. So I highly recommend it. We're going to get into next month and the month after really making some strong commitments to funding. We're going to have to lock ourselves in and actually formally start, or we're going to run out of time on our funding agreements. So if we don't, so
I was one that wasn't able to make it. If we could plan a weekend trip for people who were not able to go.
a weekend, do you think?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
love to do it.
Do you? Yeah.
That would work
Well-
wonderful. Yeah.
As long as we can get a little bit of notice, that would,
Yeah.
a little bit more notice of when it's gonna
Yeah.
be, so we can plan ahead a little bit, that would be better.
I got the
Okay.
email the day before and I didn't see it. So
Yeah, we were kind of shuffling back and forth on getting everybody's schedule to align. Nobody had the same day and we're getting people to shift schedules and it got away from us a little bit, but I will do that for you
if we
guys.
can do a reschedule like on a weekend,
Okay. Yep, we'll
Certainly.
get that set up. It's definitely worth the time because when you see the facility in operation, it's hard to visualize on a one-dimensional drawing what this looks like and how it's going to work out there. So it's really good to do. Second thing is there's a class action litigation for PFAS, which is a chemical that can be found in wastewater, drinking water. They're widely used chemicals that create this contaminant. I've got more information in your staff report, but I'm trying to keep it high level and not get into the weeds or too technical. But there is 2 class action settlement agreements that's being offered. The staff report kind of explains our options. Right now, we don't register any PFAS in any of our tests, and which means in these particular settlements, if we were to enter one of these settlement agreements, we're probably not going to get much, if anything, out of the settlement agreement. But we have to decide if we're going to enter those or just if we do show contamination later, then we would have to go out and litigate that individually. Because we don't register any contaminants right now, I really don't. I don't know that there'd be a benefit for us to join the settlements. So it seems like we're better off to leave our options open later, and there could be a lot of things that factor in. I'm guessing there's gonna be, there's gonna be some more litigation and more settlements later. There's probably, hopefully gonna be some state assistance for those areas that have positive tests, but it's still kind of up in the air. And I just need direction from you guys. Should we enter the class action settlements or kind of go on our own and see how it plays out in the future? We're not required to do anything at this point unless we want to enter the class action settlements. So happy to
And we
answer.
haven't had any positive tests?
We have not.
No, the EPA is having us test like every 6 months. We just got our second set. Tested in May, we'll test again this month. And I think if we come back negative both times, they'll stop having us test. The EPA is providing the test free of charge, and we just have to send it in the analysis.
And so the way that the class action settlements are set up, there's 2 tiers. Tier 1 are people that are testing positive, which is where the bulk of the settlement money is going to go to mitigation. And then tier 2 are people that are not testing positive, that are testing negative. And what that money will provide is future testing cost. Well, we're getting that from EPA right now. And if you are negative, once that money's gone for mitigation, then there's no more money for tier 2 if they end up testing positive later. So that's really the negative in this settlement and the reason why it's hard to recommend being part of it. So.
Would we be able to
December,
take-
well, you have to file by December 31st of,
Would that second test be back before then?
Probably not, we probably have results by then. It took them a good 2 months or more to get us resolved last time.
yeah.
Or that's how long it took them.
Yeah. So if the testing deadline for phase 2 is January of 26, you have to enter the settlement agreement before December 31st. But then you have a testing deadline, which is January of 2026. But again, at that point, we're going to be in the phase 2 category.
And to be clear on our test results, there's non-detect, and then there's lower limit that's detectable, but not a limit that's like dangerous or they consider above the approved amount. And we came back non-detect, so we didn't even there was no trace of that in the water. It wasn't like it was low.
And the other thing is these contaminants are the chemicals are widely used. So the contaminants could come from a local farm. It could come from a local industry. Doesn't necessarily have to come from, just general products that are used, but it could. And that's what, when we're detecting in our wastewater, that's what I think we're detecting at that household level.
But something that's introduced. Problem, not the chemical itself.
It's the chemicals. It's the byproduct of the chemicals. Yeah. And the chemical name is in here, but it's a lot, they're found in a lot of, my understanding, it's a lot of household type, everyday used products. Yeah.
So what happens, let's say we choose not to be part of it, and what happens down the road, we get a positive testing?
Then we would try to find the source of the contaminant, and then we would litigate ourselves. Yeah, if that was the option.
Is there a cost or some reason to not just join it?
Well, if you join it, you give up your rights to litigate. And since we're a tier, and since we're a tier 2, we're not going to get anything. but the test, which we're already getting the test. So it seems like there's really no incentive to join because you're giving up future claims. Yeah, and
Our future.
and basically what I have in my staff report that I've explained to you is the way, that's the way it was explained to me from our legal counsel. So, was a copy and paste, basically.
I think that we would be better off to go it alone. And if we have a risk, then we take the steps to mitigate that in the future.
And not give up our future, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I think whether the state provides assistance or the federal government, or we have to litigate it,
Yeah,
at least we would have options where if we do this, we don't have very many options.
yeah.
And I would
And-
hate to see us stuck with a bill.
And I will tell you that there are communities that have high levels of PFAS and, you know, they're building facilities to try to separate those out of their systems. We're just not in that position. So I think it gives us a lot better option. Okay. Sounds like I just see
Yeah.
consensus there. That's all I really needed. New public workshops going vertical. If you haven't been by there, there's progress. And again, it's kind of exciting to see. It's, you know, there's a shell out there and every week I go out there and more is being done. And so if you get a chance to drive by there and check it out, it's looking really good. We are putting together a time lapse video that will, once the project's done, we'll bring and put together a little presentation for council for that. And then, as usual, we ask council to cancel the last meeting in November and the last meeting in December. They either fall on or right next to a holiday. And so we'd just see if there's consensus to do that unless an emergency pops up. We would just cancel those meetings.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then if there's anything you have questions for me, happy to answer those.
I don't have any questions. That's it for your report. Okay, moving on.
We're gonna talk about Christmas in the park. Did I miss that?
I kind of skipped over it, but Christmas in the Park is December 9th, starts at 5 p.m. Council's welcome to come participate, volunteer. We don't have a specific assignment for people, but if you want an assignment, we'll give you one. We give out free food. We actually have quite a few volunteers signed up this year, so it may be more being host for the community than anything else. But if you want to hand out food or cotton candy or popcorn or whatever we're giving out. I don't think we're doing cotton candy. I think it's popcorn this year. Hot chocolate, cider, those types of things. You're welcome to do that. Our event is largely planned, meaning we bring the community down there. We have our local choir that sings some songs. As a matter of fact, I think there might be a couple of them that sing different groups. We do the hay rides through the community. This year, we're doing a little bit different in that the fire station typically has an event and we typically have an event separately, and we do hay rides back and forth. The fire department is going to come down to the park and participate with us in the tree lighting and the festivities down there this year. And so we're going to have carriage rides and hay rides. They're going to come up to City Hall and loop around and then go back down because the community really enjoys that. That's also the day that we do the Santa parade throughout the community with the little treat bags. We start that in the morning, and then it ends at the park with the tree lighting. I'm happy to answer any questions about that if you.
My question was just who, if somebody wants to volunteer, who do they contact?
They can contact anybody at City Hall. We do also have online a volunteer registration form that they can go on and they can fill out, and it goes straight to us, and they can just say what event they want to volunteer for, and they can volunteer for one or they can volunteer for multiple events, and then we'll communicate back with them of where we need them. But yeah, we've got a Santa Claus, Santa pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that in my, in my report because I thought, maybe one of our council members would want to report on that, but I can. So the Exchange Club hosts a Christmas store. That is the 3rd of December. The 2nd of
The
December?
second.
See, that's why you need to report, not me.
It's the 2nd of December, and it is an opportunity for parents to bring their small children to shop for the parents. And the Exchange Club will have a store in here where, and it's ages 3 to 9, I believe. And while the kids are shopping with an elf, the parents can sit and have a free pancake breakfast. Famous people in this room.
And last year, when you say shop, last year it was free, right? It's free to the community or is,
It's all free.
okay.
So free, yes, all the presents that they get to choose and yeah, we'll meet this Wednesday. Out everything to know exactly what's there, but quite a variety that the kids can choose from. They live with an uncle or a
And it's the gifts are wrapped
yes,
and they're tagged.
yes, the elves guide the children and let them choose what they want. Then we have tables set up where we wrap it and so and then they make a tag and then wrapped present with them.
And if you don't happen to have children at home, but you just want to come and enjoy the event and see the expression on the kids' faces, you can still come have free breakfast. There'll be more than pancakes. There'll be a
That's what I
meat
did last
option. I'm
year.
sure there'll be some sausages or something there.
Yeah, I came down last year and
Yeah.
said hello for a little bit. Yeah.
The exchange is members are going to be
Yep,
we're
but
good. So if you want to come eat pancakes.
if you want to come volunteer, you can help cook breakfast and serve
yeah.
breakfast. Happy to have it.
Supervise?
Yeah.
I was gonna
Guys.
volunteer you.
She's already a volunteer.
Was that
In the kitchen.
last year when I had brought Josie? And
Yeah.
she-
Yeah.
I don't know what she did the night before, but she curled up on the floor back there
Yeah.
while everyone was, and she fell asleep in front of the refrigerator.
All
Uh,
right, did council have anything else for me? All right, thank
I think
you.
so.
Thank you.
You're on.
Moving on to mayor and councilor reports. Is there anything to report? Go.
Want to take the opportunity to invite everybody to the Aumsville Rural Fire District's turkey shoot bingo happening this
This
Saturday. Starts at 6 o'clock, and as always, just a donation is 25 cents per card, and if you get a bingo, you win a turkey. The support team will also be doing a 50-50 raffle, as well as raffling off some cool items as well to help support some updates of some of our technology for first responders. Need some iPads and other technology to kind of help with medical response. So that'll be what we're doing. And Girl Scouts will be hosting concessions. So the hot dogs and chili dogs and the nachos that were missing last year will actually be available this year. So just wanted to kind of remind everybody about the event. It's one of my favorite events. I'm terrible at bingo, but I enjoy just socializing with everybody. So just wanted to kind of give council a heads up and give the public a heads up. It's one of our biggest fundraisers for the year. It starts at 6 o'clock and I think it goes until about 11. Yep, over at the fire station. Yep, at 490 Church Street.
I've been going every year that since I moved to town, like 2008, every year that they've had it, and I've never won a turkey.
I've won lots of them.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know what is wrong.
I'm just putting that out into the universe.
I want them all before you got there, and she's sorry.
So do you have to be there at 6 o'clock to 11, or can you join at any?
No, it's anytime,
Yeah,
in and
anytime.
out.
Yeah,
You can
Yeah.
come for a half hour, stay the whole night, doesn't matter.
You can donate all at once if you want, or you can donate as you go. I've seen people bring in food. Of course, you can buy the food there because it's a fundraiser, but yeah, people bring in their pizzas and McDonald's and their thermoses and, yeah, it's a fun event. It is. I'll be there. Turkey or no turkey?
yeah. I haven't been so lucky in the turkey either, so I feel I've had some donated to me from people who've won like 5 or 6, but I've never been successful yet, but yeah.
I had a busy week. We did do the tour, guys, and that if you guys end up scheduling it, it's weird to be excited to go look at a wastewater facility treatment, but like it was
Pretty
really
interesting.
it was really interesting. It definitely puts into perspective of what's going to be happening across town. So that was great. I got invited to tour Blazers Industries. I've never actually been inside the building as long as I lived here. So that was really fun and interesting. There were so many people there just willing to say hi and excited to see us there. So what else did I do? Oh, and I finally made it to a historical society meeting. I've been trying to go since May. It was really, I met somebody that's been living in the same house for like 70 years. So that was really cool.
I was gonna say it was nice to hear from Jane and Paige. Many years, and I am also a member of the Domestic Violence Council.
Moving on to good of the order. Anything for good of the order? We have no correspondence. And there is no executive session, so we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:55 p.m.